This is Dr. Versalati, and in this screencast we're going to review learning objectives and how to write quality learning objectives. Learning objectives are a key to high quality assessment because the learning objectives really drive not only our teaching but also our assessment. So, learning objectives, there are 4 main features. The first is that the learning objectives should be student-centered. They should break down the task to specific cognitive processes. They should be observable, and they should be measurable. Let's take each one in turn. So, learning objectives should be student-centered. This means that rather than write it from the perspective of the instructor, what the instructor will do or what the instructor intends, we're going to write them with the perspective of the student being the agent, putting the student in subject position. The student will be able to. And then you, step number 2, write down the tasks, not a broad task like write a paper, but break down the task of writing a paper into its parts. For instance, the student will be able to propose a thesis statement, organize ideas in a 5-sentence paragraph, use appropriate vocabulary for the audience, for instance, rather than the students will be able to write a paper. The next 2 state that the learning objectives should be observable and measurable. So what this means is we don't want to write learning objectives that deal with mental activity within the student's mind. We want to be able to observe it, and we do that by using action verbs in our learning objectives. So, for instance, the student will be able to list the steps of the water cycle, or maybe we want them to describe the water cycle, or we want the students to organize sentences so that it's in the form of a typical paragraph, starting with a topic sentence and supporting sentence and ending with a concluding sentence. So we want them to be observable and we want it to be measurable. These are just some of the action verbs that you might choose. You can check out Bloom's taxonomy and consider which verbs match the level of higher or lower level thinking, knowledge-based thinking, or analysis, or evaluation, whatever level of thinking types of knowledge you're trying to assess. I do want to caution you about this verb, demonstrate. I often see learning objectives that state something like, the student will demonstrate understanding of, and then whatever that is, English articles. And then the question becomes, how would that be observable? How will I know that the student has demonstrated understanding of English articles or of a mathematical formula? So I strongly recommend perhaps avoiding that because it feels like a pitfall. Instead, you can say the student will use appropriate English articles for different noun phrases in sentences or something like that. So use action verbs that are observable and measurable. Good luck with writing learning objectives that are student-centered, that break down this task into specific cognitive processes, and that are observable and measurable.